Hello, welcome. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to another DMsGuild feature showcase on Shambazzle Games with this incredible cast of characters. I'm going to introduce them momentarily, but first, I'm going to fix these funky ass frames. Here we go.
Oh, I was fixing myself.
Dads and Dragons, a little bit lopsided. That's on me. It's not him. Just so you know. There you go. You can watch him moving around in real time, just like so. There you go. Professional production. That's what happens when you're DM, camera person, tech person. Everybody else looking pretty good, but I wasn't doing Ryan any justice. That's the thing. Welcome back. We're excited to play. This is bi-weekly, so DMsGuild feature showcases every second Wednesday, and I feel like while I enjoy the downtime on the Wednesdays in between, I am personally like always so pumped when this show comes around. I don't know how you guys feel.
Yeah,
it's
fun.
Oh yeah.
Good. I'm glad
Tons
you
of
didn't
fun.
have to think too hard about that one, so that makes me happy. I'm going to do a little bit of audio levels as we go through, too. Before we jump in, though, I do have a couple of quick community announcements. Number one, I've taken a different approach to news on ShambazzleGames.com, of course, to try to publish a new article every single day. It's a no BS approach to news, so I'm not going to make you read through a whole bunch of fluff to get to the goods. We're doing like a bullet point approach to just the details that you need on breaking news in the world of Dungeons & Dragons and TTRPGs, specifically this week because I don't know if you folks are following, but D&D Live starts tomorrow. So there's a lot of great online games, main stage games planned. It's all remote. Most of it's pre-recorded, if not all of it's pre-recorded, but they will be officially announcing the new storyline, which is what they usually do every year around this time in D&D Live. It's scheduled to come out in September. There are a lot of rumors abound, but check out the articles on ShambazzleGames.com if you're so inclined. But what I'm really excited for this week, it's crazy. I don't know why I'm thinking this, because I am not a youngster anymore, but Steph and I, in our regular Monday slot, we have 2Play, where we sit down together and we play video games. It's hilarious. We have an awesome time, and that's picking up steam as well. Well, one of our favorite franchises, The Last of Us, you may have heard of it, launching Part 2 Friday at midnight. So Steph, for whatever reason, has gone along with my crazy on this, and we're going to be doing a launch stream playthrough at 12 a.m. midnight on Friday. So Friday at midnight, 12 a.m., come join us at Shambazzle Games for a 2Play special launch playthrough of The Last of Us Part 2. If you missed it on Monday, we played The Last of Us Remastered, and there was a lot of jump scares, a lot of screaming. You love it. Steph spazzes the frick out. She throws stuff at the ground and shoots walls. It's hilarious, and I hope you'll join us for that if you're awake. If not, there'll be lots of goods for the VOD. So all that aside, let's introduce you to this lovely cast. I'm going to cut you a break today, Nikki. There we go. I'm going to cut you a break today. We'll start with Ryan, Dads and Dragons. Introduce yourself and tell us what you're all about.
Hey, I'm Ryan. I'm Dads and Dragons on Twitter and on Instagram. And you can catch us on our podcast every couple weeks. We release a new episode that I play with my teenage kids. And we have a ton of fun, and it's just mayhem every episode. So it's a lot of fun.
Amazing. Bringing the youth in proper. Bringing them into the hobby, into the sports.
Yep.
The heights of mental athletics, I think. With the TTRPG styles. Angela, a.k.a. at Pleasant Doom, say hello. Tell us what you're all about.
Hi, like he said, I am at Pleasant Doom on the Twitterverse. I am all about the geeky stuff. I'm one of the co-hosts for a podcast called Dungeons, Dinings, and Dorks, where we talk about all kinds of geekery and fun times and food, because geeks gotta eat, like you like to say.
That's right. It's a new tagline I'm throwing around. All the nerdy stuff. All the nerdy stuff. Let's pop over to Dustin at Just Drawn Radio. Hello, Dustin.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me back, as always. And, of course, I am Dustin of Just Drawn Radio. Obviously, by the Twitter handle, you can guess I do a radio show about comic books. Talks about why comics are important. I'll admit sometimes I have a love-hate relationship with comics. This week is definitely more on the hate than the love, but hey, you know what? Comics are still awesome. They inspire people, and you know what? Everyone needs a hero. So I'm actually back and recording shows again this week too.
Awesome. Touche. Welcome back to the Sphere. And I notice you're wearing something that I believe is a callback to last week's episode. Tell us a little bit about this accessory that you're sporting today.
Of course, for the team of on our adventure to rescue Devon from the pretty voiced lady, we decided we'd masquerade as Muse, also known as his old identity of Chiron, the Blood Scarves, which the scarf may or may not have been my quickest inspiration for, okay, quick, I need a name for a bandit group.
Blood scarf. You were probably covered in blood at the time. Oh, maybe. I don't know. You guys were sweet talking your way through a goblin hideout, if I remember correctly. If you missed it, episodes 1 through 3 live on YouTube, and I'll try to have an edited version out for you, but definitely worth catching up. Dr. Feargood in chat, I know, is catching up with our episodes today. Glad you can make it today. At the Deacon Smith, welcome, Deacon. Good to see you as well. A wonderful member of the stream team that we're part of with the Storytellers Union. But before I get into that, hopefully that's enough vamping Nikki. I know she's been practicing it all day. We're going to throw to Nikki at Chickenly Nerd. Say hello to the people. No stress.
I am at Chickenly Nerd. And I have a shop. It's called nerdychicken.ca. It's online. I've got a lot of amazing nerdy people making amazing nerdy stuff. And you should go take a look at it. I'm sure you'll see something there that you like.
Well done.
Is that good?
Nailed it. And in return for my antics, because I put Nikki on the spot there, this might be the first and only Dungeons & Dragons game online ever where you might see a player kill a DM. So stay tuned, because it might happen today. Welcome, everybody. Of course, my name is Brad, a.k.a. Shambazzle, at Shambazzle Games, everywhere on the internet. If you're enjoying the stream, if you like the story, please do throw me a follow, punch that purple follow button, or subscribe on whatever channel you're tuning in with us tonight. Follow me at Shambazzle Games for all the updates and all the streaming content, the video content I produce. That's it for me. I blabbed a little bit in the beginning, so I won't bore you with that, but the best form of support is to throw us a follow and just show up. That's all. That's all we ask. We love to be here for you. And we always love to interact with chat as well. Of course, when we're running a narrative story, it makes it difficult to do in the moment. We do have chat alerts and stream alerts working, so hopefully you will be able to benefit from that if you do participate, which just reminded me to put the alert box over the overlay, like I did last time. But we'll take a break towards the end of the stream. We'll wrap up. We'll talk to the cast, and then we engage with chat. We'll do stream call-outs for all the wonderful support that you folks give us. But we do have one kicking off. Dr. Feargood, the anticipation is killing me. Thank you so much for the Tier 1 subscribe 2 months in a row. Chain subs. Thank you, Dr. Feargood.
Ding,
Your
ding.
support always welcome.
Awesome.
Of course, we love just to have you here, but the additional support is certainly appreciated. Welcome. Big friend of the show. Great community member as well. But anything that we missed during the show, we'll catch up with. So stick around to the end where we'll do all those great shout outs. How is everyone feeling this week?
Excited.
Excited?
Yeah.
Good?
Yeah.
Ready
Very
to go?
excited. I can't wait to see where this goes.
Enough
Oh,
yammering?
so happy to be playing D&D again, man.
Can't remember.
Right.
Does everybody have a Blood Scarves name yet?
Yeah. A Blood Scarves name. Muse had kind of dubbed you all from people of his past. So actually, Muse, if you're up for it, why don't you give us a quick rundown on everyone's alias?
Yeah.
And first of all, start with the real character name, because the crew, just to give you a little bit of context, had kind of swindled their way through a goblin hideout, posing as a highly qualified group of bandits. That they basically kind of went in undercover, and Muse drew from his history as a proper bandit, and I'll let you take it away from there, Muse. I don't want to steal your thunder.
Of course. So with a little bit of quick thinking, Muse, of course, resumed his old identity of Chiron. As tieflings are often known to do, if they choose to reject their past, they adopt a new name. He took his name from Lorelei, the woman who taught him how the wonderful world of artificing. So, of course, he did decide that in the name of quick thinking, and as some of his companions not quite have the best bandit names ever. So, of course, first off is our favorite monk, Cloud. She ended up getting the new identity of Night Stalker.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Glitterbomb, the Kenku of many colors and unfortunately poor aerodynamic quality. I believe she was given the identity of Crow.
Ravenbeak, I think.
Ravenbeak,
it was.
yeah.
Ravenbeak. I apologize.
We'll help you with your backstory.
Ravenbeak.
Yeah, it was either Ravenbeak or Raven Talon, something like that.
Thank you for the save. My book for the recap is downstairs. So,
Oops.
and of course, rounding out is Drogon, and who became the Bandit Crew's armor smith / saboteur extraordinaire. And I believe it was just Scar, was it not?
I don't have my notes with me. I'm on a different computer, so I'm going to go
Oh
with
my
that.
gosh.
We're prepared today. This might be a totally different story than the one you started watching this afternoon. I don't know what's going to happen here. But a couple of other things did happen too. They acquired a companion, an unlikely companion in one of the Goblin Marauders from the hide or the stronghold at Bridge Tree called Pio. And she was kind of enamored with the story of these bandits and saw, actually, I won't get too far ahead of myself because we got some of that in the recap, so you'll have to wait for that. But that is coming up momentarily. One other big thing happened, and I was a bad DM. I didn't give out experience until yesterday, but everyone has reached level 3. So we're going to see some new abilities coming through. We're going to see some new dynamics in the gameplay. We're probably going to see some guess and checking as we consult our manuals in the little time that the DM gave everybody to go ahead and bring in that level 3 goodness. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and jump into game just like this. So here we are in the campaign screen, which I have blocked with my overlay. So there we go. Yeah, let's go ahead and hop in. Is everyone ready to go?
Yeah.
Splendid. The web of deceit, so carefully crafted by the party, eventually caught up with them after leaving the goblin stronghold in Bridge Tree. While those gods who linger in the realm of luck had clearly favored them for a time, in several narrow and potentially threatening engagements to their ruse, the companions were able to keep their false identities as members of a mercenary group intact. So convincing was their posing as highly qualified brigands of the Bloodscarves sent to bolster the pretty ladies contingent at Bridge Tree that they have even earned the trust and companionship of a goblin marauder named Pio to aid their cause. The young goblin warrior plied with the promise of a better legacy, brighter future, and acceptance into the Bloodscarves eagerly accepted the new prospect as she led our heroes to the nearby camp from which the Bridge Tree goblins staged their activities on a road in the northern Cormanthor forest. But alas, the leader of this sect, the hissing, decrepit spellslinger, had ultimately learned of the party's trickery after consulting his own leadership and was returning to deal with the matter as the friends and their new companion Pio arrived at the camp and conveniently straight into his territory. A vicious battle ensued that ended not only in victory for the party, but with a catharsis as Pio dealt the killing blow on the last of her former tribe at the behest of Muse, solidifying her passage from goblinhood into an accepted sister of the Bloodscarves, and even receiving the ceremonial symbol of the band with a crimson scarf of her very own. And as you looked upon Pio as she emerged from the tent after looting her own brethren in proper goblin fashion, arms filled with things that might not really interest you otherwise, but veritable treasures for a goblin, she looked at you and said, "Can't take it with them, I guess." And she continues to kind of scrounge around the camp floor as the rest of you survey the now quiet settings with the corpses of your fallen foes littering the ground. As I mentioned, I'll just give you a quick recap of the area. When you crested the top of the cliff leaning inward through the trenches that led you to this camp and this opening in the woodland Cormanthor region, you immediately saw a slapped-together camp. It's all leaning and fairly rickety. It seems to have previously housed the small contingent of goblin raiders. There's a central wooden shack that leans and stands barely, with clapboard surrounded by about a half dozen leaning, tattered tents with their rough hides flapping and slapping in the wind, their untethered doors continuously rippling like flags on the sea wind. Noisily, dust is being strewn around the camp and just kind of adds to the ambiance as this thick rank of must and mire and even manure seems to linger in the air, with a small spattering of still burning embers from a waning campfire near the cliffside towards the edge of the camp. What do you do?
I'm still leaning against one of the ramshackle walls, badly injured.
How is everyone? Who else is hurt beside Muse?
It's an excellent question.
Be thinking I'm the only one who ended up on the wrong end of that argument.
I'm fine.
I just clacking my beak in concern at Muse.
Well, let's see what we can do for you here.
Thanks kindly,
I
friend.
pull out my hammer and then gently lay my hand on your chest and cast Cure Wounds.
Sounds good. It's Dugmarin is the your deity, right, Drogon?
Yes.
As the power
Yes.
and the will of Dugmarin is almost manifested through the hands of the cleric, floating warmth into your chest. You feel the scars start to seal, the seeping wounds finish, start to close up.
My eyes are just gonna kind of bug out, like,
I am going to quickly lose interest and start wandering around and moving things and poking at stuff and knocking things off if I can, seeing if there's anything interesting and anything shiny that'll catch my interest.
Okay. Roll a perception check for me. As Pio continues to kind of thumb through the belongings of her fallen brethren, clearly no loyalty there, only to the goods as she's rifling through pockets, and you see her kind of lift a small chain and pocket it. She's going through coin purses and such. Cloud, as you're kind of sniffing the air and prowling around the outskirts of the town, looking through the ground, looking through the debris, you do find something that's interesting and somewhat out of place in the camp, and that's a small pile of hay that seems otherwise fresh, 2 posts that look like they were freshly driven into the ground, and leather straps that look like they would have been used at some point to moor horses or beasts of burden, now laying untethered to the ground. And in the midst of everything that's somewhat dirty, again in true goblin fashion, these look like they're unusually well maintained and freshly used.
I want to look a little more closely at it, see if I can tell how recently there might have been horses here, or if there's blood, if the horses were
Sure. As you
killed, or...
You lean close to the ground and press your hand to it. It's still wet and thick, creating mud that actually holds tracks quite well. Tracks, in fact, that you notice now seem to be large horse hooves, large horses that are sunk deep into the ground. It's easy enough to tell that somewhat recently there were horses standing here, and then you kind of watch and you see these horse tracks trail out to the road, this little narrow overgrown passage that skirts the outside of the camp onward further into the Cormanthor. I'll get you to roll a survival check for me, or nature, your choice.
Or nature, which one's better? Survival not good, nature worse.
Good stuff. And Glitterbomb, what are you doing in this moment while Cloud is searching the camp?
well, once Cloud wanders away, I'm kind of watching her curiously, and when she gets looking at the horse tracks, I'm gonna kind of join her and look at them too.
Okay. So Glitterbomb takes your side. You can almost feel her presence. You don't even have to look over your shoulder. Tuned in to these horse tracks. Clearly, these were 2 horses riding side by side. One looks like it has a bit of a heavier gait, and you do definitely see some drag marks now along the side that end after about 10 feet, looks like someone was certainly brought here either by some resistance or unconsciously. The other sets of footprints on the flanking side of the horse tracks, as they seem to make their leave from camp, are stranger still, with a heavy back pad and a weird, like, kind of 3-ball footprint that seems to mirror the goblins that you've seen, maybe larger and a heavier set from the way that they've sunken into the mire here.
Do you think that could be Devin being dragged away?
I'm gonna kind of whistle non-committally, and then kind of think a moment, and then nod.
Well, you can see that. Oh, we should tell them. Let's go tell them.
Okay. Should make your way.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yep.
No,
Yep. We scurry back.
Yes.
All right, as you make your way back to camp from this little sort of alcove in the woods just beyond the furthest most tents, Muse, what are you doing now? You feel like you kind of check your shoulders a little bit, feeling somewhat refreshed, a little tight?
I give Drogon a thankful nod. Thanks kindly for the patch up there, friend. I'm gonna see what I can do to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Why not perhaps letting someone with a little more thicker hide go first next time?
Be right. Good idea there. I admit my mouth may have gotten me in a little bit more trouble than I'm used.
You think? What's your plan with this little? Once we're free of here, what's she gonna do? Meet up with these blood scarves of yours?
If she's be looking to change her coin toss, I'll do what I can to help her out. I owe her.
And us?
So.
And what happens if we run into these blood scarves of yours?
I tap the last word and go, well, me and them will have a right settling up on that. I owe y'all my life. I pay those debts.
Let's hope it doesn't come to that then.
But we best make sure that if we do run into them, I'll talk first, and hopefully old issues have been mended.
Well then, back to the matter at hand, though. Do we leave any of these poor people, any of these poor goblins alive? They can tell us where we're going. I look around and survey our scene of wreckage here. Brad, is there anybody left alive? Or...
all you see really is Pio kind of excitedly making her way from body to body, and she's randomly exclaiming like, "Oh, gods are smiling! Gods are smiling on me! Not on you! Not on you!" And she's just kind of like is kind of making her way around. You draw your attention from the little goblin making her way through looting her former friends, and you just see the tents that are slowly lapping. There's no other sound. And nothing from the shack except now the door that was previously slung up open by the spellcaster as he made his way to attack you originally, just kind of in the wind. Otherwise, all seems clear. But I'll get you to roll a perception check for me, please.
All right. A 12.
Okay. Yeah, you don't see much, but you do kind of notice that there seems to be a little bit of an outcropping beyond the camp, and as you're kind of trying to get a sense of where it might lead, you see the two forms of Cloud and Glitterbomb coming back into the camp towards you. Cloud?
Oh my, I think I know which way they went when they left. I think they went that way.
Heavy horse.
Yeah, what she said.
Two horse. Yes.
2 horse. Yeah.
2 horse. Horse, heavy horse. Drag.
Yeah, we think there's probably somebody that was being dragged.
Can you tell how long ago?
I don't think it was that long ago.
As you think back, it seemed pretty fresh. If you had to guess based on the time that you took to investigate the area, you might say probably within the last half day for sure, given the weather.
Yeah, definitely within the last, half day.
Well said.
We're all on foot, aren't we?
So we should go. He's being dragged. It's not good.
Somebody who's been both the dragon and the dragee, yeah, I can definitely agree with you on that. It ain't a pleasant way to go.
And with that, not only are you suddenly aware of the marching of time against the urgency of the task that you're on, but also that the sun in all this is vaulted completely over the top foliage of the Cormanthor and is sunk somewhere to presumably the west, though it's difficult to get your bearings here. And you'd estimate that while night might not fall for about another 4 hours, the forest will definitely start to get dark in about 2.
We should try to get a little bit of travel in before it gets too dark.
I will whistle in agreement.
Are you okay, Chiron?
Name's Muse, don't worry.
Well, I look around to see where Pio is.
And with a crash, you hear some clanging of pots or something. You look over, all of your attention's drawn almost instantaneously to the darkened hovel door of this wooden shack as Pio kind of crashes over, her small form climbing over, stepping over the corpse of her boss, and she's as she walks over it, she says, look, boss. She says, check it out. She holds towards you, Muse, almost in tribute, a small cedar box that's uncharacteristically fancy looking for goblins of this stature. It's for you. Least I can do. And she kind of she takes her scarf and she's trying to tie it around her forehead, almost Rambo style.
I take a knee and I take the box. Thanks kindly. And what we got here?
To the winners go the spoils.
Are they? What's in it?
I open the box.
Sure, as you go, it just kind of holds fast, and you notice that there are 2 small holes side by side that seem to be part of some kind of fastening mechanism, but you definitely hear something shifting and something clacking against the wood of the interior of the small box.
Is there any way I can open the box? Is there a lock?
Sure. Why don't you roll an investigation check for me?
Got it.
While you are terribly adept at all things, manners of trinket, clockwork, and gears, things that function together, which might feature in some part of the locking mechanism, the outside is just wood in 2 holes, and you kind of look into it, but you can't seem to quite make sense of it.
I look to the others. Y'all have any ideas on how this opens?
Get any one of you to make an investigation check with advantage.
I'm gonna definitely take a look at it. I'm very tempted to poke at the holes in the box.
Okay. You might have to fight me for it.
Yeah, you got a
go ahead. But I'm definitely, I am definitely like getting my head in there, and
sure.
and I'm actually risking getting closer to Muse to pat at the box a little.
She just wants to knock it off the table.
My investigation is just bad.
Okay.
Oh
2
my
with advantage.
gosh.
Nothing. No luck. And Cloud is almost like pushing everyone aside, her eyes going wide, like, something shiny and clattering in the inside of the box.
She even like gently takes a bat at it to see if it falls out of Muse's hand.
I hold it up for Cloud. If you got an idea, I'm all ears.
Cloud, as you take a look at it, you kind of peer, your eyes now tuned in a little bit more to the darkness, able to focus on these tiny objects, these tiny holes and slats that are in the front of the box. Are you proficient with Thieves' Tools? Or is anyone proficient with Thieves' Tools? Okay. Yeah? So you can always try that angle.
Sure. I'll roll Thieves' Tools.
All right, as Cloud is kind of talking to you about what she sees in the interior, you pull out the small trinkets, the small picks, and these little tiny bars intended to give you some leverage. You start to go to work on it, kind of visually, instantly putting together a visual representation of what Cloud has told you she sees in these interior mechanisms. Go ahead and roll a lockpicks, which is your tools proficiency dexterity check. Basically dexterity check with proficiency. There you go. Oh, you got it all sorted out on your character sheet. That's good, with advantage, so we'll take the 16, which is more than enough. As you begin to pry and Cloud looking on quite inquisitively until you hear and then you leave that bar in there and you put another one in the other hole and you kind of find the latch on the other side as it catches. And between the two, as you shift them counterclockwise, the top of the lid just pops open.
I jump backwards.
Feathers fluff.
Muse, as you peel back the lid, you see on the inside there are about 10 gold pieces, 30 silver pieces, and of particular note, you see a small woven hemp necklace that's just small enough to fit around, let's say, a goblin neck. And it looks like it has several inserts. 3 of them are missing, and 2 still remain, where these orangey, sort of opalescent pearls are fitted in the necklace. In addition to that, as you're kind of thumbing through it, you see a small piece of harshly rolled parchment pressed into the corner of the box.
All right. I'll take a look at the parchment.
Okay.
I am totally staring at the necklace. It's got shiny bits in it.
As you Muse, as you unfurl the parchment, you'll see it now in your journal, and I'll leave it up here for our audiences to read.
Interesting. I show the note to the others.
Okay, everyone now has it in your... you should now have it in your journals. Does everyone see it?
Ooh.
And I'll take a look at the necklace and see if I can identify what it is.
Okay.
I'm not seeing the journal entry.
No.
Ooh.
No, you don't see it under handouts? Okay, hold on one
I
second.
do not see
No.
it under here.
All I have is the ransom note.
Gotcha, okay. Didn't quite work. There you go, now you'll see it.
Aha!
Aha. Oh, I also have a selection that says all players. That's duly noted.
Ooh.
Pio seems to be just sitting on a rock by the roadside, kind of counting through the various things that she's collected from the camp. 4, 11, 4.
I go over and look over her shoulder to see what she's looking at.
Oh, hey, might as well get paid, right?
Oh,
Where
yeah.
goes the
Yeah,
spoils?
You have a lot of great stuff.
Yeah. Well, they had a lot of great stuff. She's just kind of thumbing through.
But now it's all for you because of the new boss, because he is so kind.
Yeah. He's a great boss.
Bosses don't have to be mean, I think.
She kind of stops and looks at you and she says, yeah, you're right. I like this team. I like this job. Better than my last one. And she's 11, 4, 11. She's just cycling through the only 2 numbers she knows in common. And she looks and she says, hey, you're part of the team too. So, and she grabs a handful of coins and she says, here's 11 for you. and she dumps like a handful. You just with her paws together, you're trying to catch it all. She dumps about 50 gold pieces worth of coins in your paws.
I thank you. That's very. You're very, very nice.
Yeah,
I
you think so?
I think so. Anybody, I mean, you like us, and we like you, and we would stop anybody from hurting you, and you would stop anybody from hurting us, right?
Yeah, of course. You know, we're a team, and teams share. And you're real nice, too. She kind of steps up and hobbles back to the rest of the group. She says, I think I found enough for everyone to have 11. And she just kind of like passes around, distributes the various trinkets and coins. She keeps some for herself. But in total, she distributes amongst the group about another 100 gold pieces, another 150 silver pieces, and 200 copper pieces in total as she's just kind of distributing out. And she's going around, she's saying, 11 and 11. Nope, that's 4. 11. Yeah.
How many copper pieces was that?
In total is 200.
I don't need this many, so I'll just take this. I'll keep 3, and then whoever wants to look after the rest can look after it.
Okay. As you
Maybe
distribute
buy
it amongst the group.
Stuff.
In total, you have 150 gold pieces, 200 silver pieces, and 300 copper pieces. I don't know how you want to track that. I'll leave that to y'all. You can handle the logistics.
I don't really know what any of this means. So somebody who knows stuff about stuff should probably hold on to it.
I'll look to Drogon. Your call, friend.
Well, I've got a bag big enough if you trust me with it.
If we're out of earshot of Keo, I'll just say, considering the revelations I just brought to your door, I'd feel better if you were the one holding on to it.
I gather up any loose coins. Glitter Bomb, are you?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep one of the shiniest coppers and keep that one.
The copper.
Just the shiniest one.
Copper.
Right.
I just want
I
the
love
shiny
that.
one.
That's great.
I keep enough one gold coin for each of my fingers, because that's how many fingers I have.
So it sounds like you guys have the same level of financial awareness that I had for most of my life too. So I can appreciate this. Yeah, the same approach to money. It took me about 40 years to snap out of it. All right, as you're continuing on over the next like 20-30 minutes, just to kind of parse this out, satisfied that you kind of take one last look around the camp. You haven't heard anything else, but you do know that presumably this is sort of the haven for troops of the contingent at Bridgetree to travel, and eventually they will be back. These DM hints only continue until level 4 is over. By the way. So
Yeah, we
at
should
level
go.
5, the training wheels are off. You guys won't need them.
We should really go.
Was I successful in figuring out anything about that hemp necklace?
Sorry, how are you attempting to identify?
Arcana or investigation?
Oh, I see. Go ahead and roll an Arcana check for me. So it's difficult to really discern anything specific about it, but it does look a little bit intentional. The missing pieces are nowhere nearby. And if you had to best guess, obviously it was something of importance to the Spellslinger. If that was the building that the Spellslinger came out of, to be locked away so tight with a missive that was clearly intended for that individual too. So there's definitely something striking about it, but you can't really discern anything specific unless you spend a little bit more time kind of testing the extent of its abilities for roughly 1 hour.
I start pacing a bit.
I take a quick peek at the Spellslingers, well, at least what's left of him.
As you kind of poke your head in, first of all, it's rank right off the get-go. It's rank, it's dark. There's nothing in here that looks like it would be used for illumination. I mean, presumably goblins don't really need light enhancements the way some of us do. There's a rough, like, fur that looks like probably the nicest thing in here, but it's bundled up and pushed up against the corner, and it's thick with caked mud. On the side, you can see a toppled-over nightstand, which apparently may have been the clatter that Pio had caused, where it's strewn some kind of a metal, like a tin pan across the ground, and there's a small metal cup with a bent handle that's also overturned on the ground now. The floor is just dirt and rocks, nothing really of any comfort or note otherwise.
What about the body of the Spellslinger?
Sure, as you begin to look over the Spellslinger. At this point, it's been more or less picked clean, presumably Pio's handiwork, as the rest of you are looking around the cabin. But it is wearing a striking kind of dark forest green cloak. It's very small. It's also tattered and ripped. It's also caked with mud and dirt. It smells like it hasn't been washed in a century. Otherwise, nothing really of note. Some hand wraps. There's the small staff that you saw it carrying leaning against the door. Nothing really of note otherwise.
I pick up the staff and I offer it to Glitterbomb.
Sure. The staff is kind of a gnarled, warped oak wood that at the top is just in a knob, like a knot at the end of a wooden twig, but the top has been polished and buffed down, so it's got a nice sheen.
I'm gonna kind of give it a couple of quick swings to see if it's got a good weight to it, or
Okay.
and kind of stab it at the ground. Kind of test it in all kinds of ways to see how useful it is.
Right. Whoosh, whoosh, it kind of cars through the air. It's light and it's small. It would be like a half quarter staff for someone about your size, although you're about 4 foot-ish, right?
Yeah, I'm small for a Kenku.
Yeah, so it features about the same way that it did on the Spellslinger. It's just seems to be a pretty sturdy walking stick that might double as a mace if needed.
Thank you.
I just give a polite nod, and we best be getting on our way before anyone else comes by.
Are we calling that item a makeshift base or something?
Yeah, you can call it like goblin staff for now. Just note where you got it, and you can use it as a mace with mace stats if you were to so inclined to do so. Mm-hmm.
Cloud is really pacing now, a lot. I have a bad feeling. We have to go.
I will chirp my agreement.
I'd be good to travel. Pio, you ready? Yeah. You ready to move?
Yeah, of course, boss. Whatever you say, boss.
We don't want you getting left behind now, so we best get a move on.
She seemed like she was lost in 2 pieces of twine that she's just tying together and untying. Fascinated. Cloud, as you kind of lead the group out of this area, you take a minute to pick up the trail of these tracks once again, and indeed they seem to arc out roughly back onto this overgrown path that's very much less a road now, more than just like a worn passage through the dense thick of the Corminthor. It's the only way away from the camp other than the way from which you came, and the road that leads directly back to Bridge Tree, which makes your decision more or less easy.
Definitely. And I as we are moving forward, I continue to if something shiny catches my eye, I wander off the trail a little and check it out. But I come back and
Naturally.
oh, there's something under that branch. I'll jump on it.
So as you take your leave from the camp, satisfied that you've unturned every stone worth seeking under there, why don't you tell me what your marching order is coming out of the camp? In this thin trail, it will allow for at most 2x2 unless you're walking through the woods itself.
Who's best
I'll
at
follow behind. I'll follow
following
behind
trails?
Cloud. I think you are, unfortunately.
Okay.
Glitter Bomb, how are you on that?
I'm probably following behind you too. Mostly to stay close to Cloud.
Okay.
Oh, at yeah, survival and nature are not strong points for me.
I'll be taking Drogon's advice this time and staying behind somebody with thicker skin.
Okay, you guys are following Cloud. Here we go.
And so it begins. So
I'm not bad for survival. If you need someone to assist, I think then the two of us together can work this out.
Yeah. Okay, that's better.
Okay, so we got Cloud.
And I will stay close enough to pull you back onto the path if you wander too far.
I keep on bringing back like little bugs, whatever I'm finding. Frogs.
So as you continue onward, Cloud on point, Drogon close behind, almost side by side, and then we have Glitter Bomb and Muse. Is that right? Good stuff.
Sounds good.
Okay. Give me 1 sec here. After about an hour, you've put a few miles of forest road behind you now, and at times it seems to branch out a little bit. You take a moment to gather side by side, catch up with each other as you're kind of passing the time with chit chat and just talking about what you've experienced so far. There's a moment where you stop and you see a small brook that kind of emanates and falls off the cliff further to the west. You seem to be following this ridge, and daylight eventually dissipates entirely. And at the end of about the second hour, it does become quite dark. As you're traveling through and putting these miles behind you on this untraveled country road, strangely enough, you don't see anything else or any other sign of life. But go ahead and roll a perception check for me with advantage, either Cloud or Drogon. And in the meantime, while that's happening, what would you like to do? Is there anything specific you want to do as you kind of pass the time in this traverse through the Cormanthor?
I'm probably fussing with the little mechanical toy that Muse gave me. Kind of probably handing it back to him to charge it up every once in a while.
Fair enough.
Every time she passes it back, I happily recharge it, and as she does that, I actually get an idea about what happens about overcharging one of these magical cores and seeing if there's a way I could possibly use it to discharge at something in the future.
Nice. So what does that look like? Tell me about it.
Well, at the core of all of Muse's little inventions is a magical gem that basically, for his little contraptions, I charge it up, and that's what animates the creature. At this point, I'm wondering what happens if I overcharge it, and of course, the magic needs to go somewhere, so kind of the idea of the last word and how I can charge that with fire. I'm wondering if I can maybe charge one of these cores up and have it shoot out at something.
Okay. Well, you're kind of making your way and playing around with this. Why don't you roll an Arcana check for me, actually. Okay. You kind of play around while you're charging it. You manage at best to get like kind of a jolt. It seems like the metal that this is made of, while it's pliable and able to mold to create the shapes that you need, it seems to conduct too much of that arcane energy, and it doesn't seem to constrain it as much. So you need to do a little bit more work with the alloys and the actual build of it to seem to really get it to hold any kind of substantial energy. Not resigned, you kind of hand it back to Glitterbomb and make a note of it. A little bit further ahead than you were before. Cloud, in the meantime, you kind of dart off. Cloud at times will dart off trail and kind of look to the west, look to the north. Your ears kind of twitching in the wind for sound, but while you do hear the welcoming sounds of swallows somewhere in the distance and woodland creatures, that eventually hands over to the chorus of evening crickets and the other types of evening-bound forest land insects and fauna. You hear skidding through the brush, but it leaves and doesn't cause you much question. Drogon, you've kept something to yourself as you were leaving, so not to alarm the party, but as you were leaving the camp, you could certainly hear the footfalls behind you and the chatter of goblinkin far behind as you left the camp. But once you are satisfied that there's no longer a trail of that, you turn your attention to the road ahead. After about another hour, 2 hours, it's growing quite dark and cold in the northern Cormanthor. And who amongst you does not have dark vision?
I'm fine.
Pretty sure
Everyone has dark vision?
I don't think I have dark vision.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I didn't think Kenku's did, but I wasn't totally sure about that one.
Yeah, I don't see it on my character sheet, so I'm pretty sure I don't. So if it's getting dark, I'm probably thinking about casting light on the end of this goblin staff.
Okay. As you do, what does that look like?
I mostly just put my hand on the top of it and just kind of start whispering at it until it just slowly starts to glow. Until it's at normal light, rather than the frantic casting that I used before.
Fair enough. A little more controlled this time, perhaps.
Definitely.
All right, as it suddenly kind of bursts into or slowly grows into brilliant luminescence, just covering the distance ahead of you, giving you some light. Now you see like the small kind of indiscrepant white lights of mosquitoes flying by you, and off to the sides a couple of fireflies dart in and out of the trees. But now you can at least see the stand of trees that are flanking from you. You hear the odd of an owl and the braying of wolves somewhere in the distance. You're continuing to travel through the evening.
While we're traveling, I'm going to be practicing the noises of the owls.
Nice. As Glitter continues to mimic the various avians of evening forestland life. But after about another hour, you've been on foot now, about 3 hours behind you, and your eyes are starting to get heavy. As the wear of the road and the adrenaline starts to wear off and move over and give way to the fatigue that's setting into your muscles and bones, having not really rested or slept for some time. Drogon and Cloud in the lead. What do you do?
I think I am getting tired.
I pause for a moment.
We stop soon?
Drogon, I look ahead, trying to see if the trail is still strong and still there, and reluctantly admit that that it's been a while since we've slept. They've got to be taking him somewhere specific. We'll catch up soon enough, I suppose.
We need to sleep.
I'll stretch kind of lazily, add on. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I'm definitely feeling a little weary.
Are you still hurt?
Just a little stiff, that's all. Nothing. A little bit of a downtime won't cure.
Sleep makes everything better.
Ain't nothing. Ain't no arguing there.
Sleepy.
A brisk
As we all
wind
do
begins
so.
to blow through the trees as the limbs begin to bend and branch, scattering the silver, what little silver light is showing from the moon.
Let's find someplace.
Yeah, I look
little
around
safer.
for a clearing.
Okay.
Just off the path, maybe.
Sure. Why don't you roll either Cloud or Drogon? Give me a nature check with advantage, please. As you both kind of step just off the trail. Now, Cloud, you've been picking up pieces and traces of this, the horse hooves.
You go ahead,
now
Drogon.
On their cant. But they sort of come and go with time. And as the ground here dries out, the trail almost leaves entirely, giving you only the assumption that this must be the only road worth traveling or path worth traveling at the moment. And in the meantime, as you're kind of searching around, Drogon, you kind of push through some small brambles that are woven around a tree, kind of obscuring it from the road conveniently enough. And as you just push through with your shoulder, you squeeze through these trees and you find a pretty reasonably small clearing. Not that it was manufactured, but the trees here are younger and the branches therefore, or the trunks therefore are smaller. And it just creates a bit of more space where you might be able to stretch out. As you look, you can barely see the movements from your companions on the road as well. Seems novel.
I'll call out to them. Oi, back here a bit.
Okay.
This seems like a good place.
I will
Listen,
chirp my
though.
curiosity and kind of push my way through the trunks of the trees.
Listen, though, we need to stay a little quiet. I think we were being followed, not too far behind when we left the camp before.
Followed.
hells.
Bad.
Really? Oh.
Followed bad.
Aye. We don't want anyone sneaking up on us tonight. Not like last night, anyway.
Where is Pio?
Yeah, right here. Yeah. She kind of pushes her way to the front. She just kind of waves the twine, and it's kind of braided and not just silly games.
You've done some work on it. That's
Yeah.
good.
It's sort of fun.
Okay.
Wow, we went far, and she kind of looks over her shoulder. Time to wind down then, I guess.
Yeah, who has some... Does anybody have food? Have a little bit. That hard, chewy stuff.
I will start digging in my pockets and pull out some food that I've stashed there.
Ooh. That looks kind of good. What is that? Just kind of looks over your shoulder.
I'll kind of mutter some stuff in my native language and realize I don't have the common words for it and chirp at Cloud for help.
She just kind of stares at you and cocks her head from it. I've never
Those
heard
are
of that before.
things that she's collected, like little berries and seeds and stuff that, birds eat.
No one's got...
Might be worms in there, too. Did you put worms in there?
No worms. Worms breakfast.
Oh, right. I forgot that. Sorry.
Tia
Sorry.
chuckles at you.
I have some of this hard, chewy stuff. You can have some of that. It's not the best, but just hand her some hardtack.
Pio pulls a leather pouch from around her shoulder and starts to kind of look through it. She's, I had a ham bone in here that I was saving, but I got rid of it to make room for more things. Oh, well. She kind of goes over and slumps up next to a tree and starts to count through the trinkets in her bag again.
Did she take the hardtack that I
Oh, you're offering it to her?
held up? Oh yeah, I offered her some
Yeah,
rations.
she greedily kind of grabs it and starts like,
Yeah, it takes some chewing, but it'll fill your belly.
Well, thanks. And she kind of curls up, props up against a tree and starts like gnawing it.
I'll share some berries.
Thanks.
God.
She's like playing with one of her incisors.
So while we are like just sort of getting sort of a camp set up, like a nice place to lay down, are we having a fire or anything? Should we not? Probably shouldn't. Anyway, while we're doing that,
How far back away are we from the? Can we see the
You're about 15
road from where we're at?
feet. You're about 15 feet, Drogon. You recall that you could see some movement, but with the shroud of these kind of clinging vines and tall ferns that are woven in, it provides some obscurity, although it wasn't too hard for you to see Glitterbomb's illuminated staff from where you were sitting either.
I think better not.
I'll dismiss the light.
As darkness completely consumes the circlet. Before long, you start to hear a soft. Blood scars. Coming from where Pio is nodded off.
while we're sitting there, and before we go to sleep, I kind of I've gathered up some stuff from the ground, just like dirt or anything. It looks like nothing, but I'm obviously paying attention to it, and I sort of am standing near Drogon, but not really looking at him, and I say, How long have you been free?
How long have I been free?
Yeah.
It's been a few decades since I left. I haven't had a smith master in some time.
Myth Master, is that what? That's
A
who.
Smith master. I work in a smithy. It's where I was trained. It wasn't a pleasant experience, though.
I
And
will
they
start
kept-
making blacksmith noises, like shop noises.
And they kept you chained up there?
No. It was an apprenticeship. Yeah. It may be hard to explain. I didn't have parents. And the only place well, I was raised by the Smith Master, but wasn't really his son, so it was mostly the worst of the jobs that I ended up with. But I've left that behind long ago. More,
When-
40 years or more now.
You say I didn't have parents. You see her visually. She goes almost like you might have hit her. So she just kind of, okay. I was just wondering.
Why do you ask?
I don't know. I don't understand things. I don't know how. Does everybody spend some time in a cage at some point, or does
Oh,
everybody
no.
get to be free?
No, that's not at all what it's like. Most people grow up free. I don't. Were you in a cage? Who kept you in a cage?
No. No. And she just turns around and walks away. I turn around and walk away. I definitely am like, no, it's not that. It's not that. I have to go to sleep now.
I follow for a minute, but I can understand respecting people's privacy since I prefer that as well. And I'll make a mental note to follow up on that later.
I'm gonna wander over to Cloud and just kind of pet her head, try to smooth the fur a little bit.
She actually leans. I lean into you like,
Yeah, quiet chirping, pet.
Muse, what's keeping Muse occupied in this moment?
Muse is. I'm kind of quietly listening to Drogon and Cloud's conversation, and at the note of that, I look a little not sure how to react, and it could be a little bit of a notes of his past as well, and possibly was led to one of his rifts with the blood scars. I've also got my a leather book open, and I'm slowly working on a new design.
Gotcha. Okay. So you continue to kind of peruse.
What are you drawing there? What are you drawing there, Muse?
I look up to Drogon, and well, it's a theory. I'm gonna need to do a little bit more fine tuning, but you know those little mechanical creatures that Glitterbomb and some of the others have seen? They're powered by this little magical core. I had this theory of I put a little bit of arcane energy into it. It's what makes it move. However, you can also overcharge these things and cause them to discharge magic. Wondering what happens if I build something to focus that discharge.
Something like that cannon of yours.
Less slinging metal and more slinging arcane power.
Well, I was thinking about that thing that you have. How much?
I take out the last word and I put it beside me here. Take a look.
I worked on a lot of weaponry and such in my time, but I've never seen anything like this. It's some kind of cannon that you can hold. How strong is it?
It's a pretty solid piece of metal. This one has some limited ability to absorb arcane energy, but it's reserved for when I power it with fire. I'm not sure what would happen if we tried putting in one of the focusing gems.
Yeah, you probably want something a little bit bigger.
You thinking you got something in mind?
Well, the cannons that we worked on back at the forge, the longer the cannon, the stronger the blast. I don't know if that same thing applies here.
About right. But the bullets, like the metal or the arcane power, the more it's focused. And I kind of get this idea. I wonder if I inscribe runes along a barrel that could actually be used to amplify the powers as the gems detonated.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
I pull out an old, there's no better word but tome from my satchel. It's hard bound and about 3 inches thick, and bound with rings around a wooden cover, and start flipping through a couple of things. On the front of it is a engraving of a hammer, an anvil, and a book in silver engraved on it. And I start flipping through some of the pages inside. So there was something that, an old member of my guild taught me once. Do you mind? And I hold my hand out for your little your gun there.
Of course not, friend. I grabbed the barrel of the last word and I put it in his hand.
I pull out some copper pieces from my pouch, and a smaller and a mallet, and just start kind of tinking at it, almost like I was smithing it, but instead of just wailing away at it, it's smaller hits. And as I'm doing that, I start to recite some of the things written on the page that I'm looking at, and most of it in Dwarvish, but what you might understand are a couple of times when I refer back to Dugmarin and guide my hand. And as I do that, I'll use my Blessing of the Forge. I'll put this up for you so you can see what it does.
Sure.
My Artisan's Blessing.
Is it yeah, gotcha. Okay. So your channel divinity.
Oh, how do I throw this to the chat? There it goes.
Nice.
I keep adding more copper pieces to it and inlaying it in rings. And as I do that, you see the barrel start to grow a little longer and a little thicker, a little wider, until it's ringed with these copper pieces and magically has widened and lengthened itself by several inches. And then hand it back to you. Say, why don't you give that a try tomorrow?
Yeah. I kind of give a low chuckle, and if Lorelai could see this, I bet she'd be right impressed. Thank you kindly, friend.
This is work the likes of which you've never really seen before, Muse. And as Drogon continues to work the metals, like we've just in these moments leading up to the finished product, there's almost like a radiance. Can you describe like the process visually to us, Drogon? I mean, you've done it already, but like if there's an arcane infusion to it.
This is the first time that Drogon's actually tried this. He's seen it before, and what happens is that every time his hammer hits onto the metal, wherever it hits, it changes shape almost automatically. And he'll take a copper piece and add it to it, and just hit it, and it's almost like the copper is in this flash of light, gets infused into the barrel and becomes a ring around it. And then he just keeps, he'll study it for a minute, and then just a precise strike to another part of it. And in a flash, it becomes longer and something different. Just works his way from one end of the barrel up to the other.
Very nice.
I'm definitely drawn to this. There's no way I am not within at least 5 feet, just watching intently as he's doing that.
Drogon doesn't see any of that as he's working on it. He's very focused in on it and almost meditative in his strikes. And you can see that there's something almost as if he's listening to the metal at some points, and then he'll hit it again.
When all of that's done, and after the barrel thing is handed over, I'm just gonna be kind of tilting my head in confusion and looking at the metal piece and looking at Drogon, and I will make the unmistakable, like to a blacksmith, it's unmistakable the sound of hot iron being quenched.
Nice.
And I'm just looking terribly confused.
Yes, it's as I come out of my focus, that brings me back to what's going on to everything else, and as I hand the now more shotgun length gun back to Muse, I say, no, it's something that I've actually never done that before, but it felt right.
Be a right impressive piece of craftsmanship, friend.
I'm still looking confused, and I'm gonna make the quench sound again. I
don't think that's going to be necessary in this case. This This is Doug Marin's work. My God, he was guiding my hand, and the things that he forges need no quenching or strengthening.
I'll just kind of scratch my head, look a little confused. Shrug. Okay.
I reach out and gently pat at the firearm just to see if it's actually real. I think it's more like. Then I back away from it.
As Drogan mentioned, after that kind of machining and working and just like the sheer pounding and the forging and the crafting of the metal, even the bending of it into this exquisite, incredible, beautiful piece of work, it should be blisteringly hot, but as you pat it trepidatiously, it's cool and almost just like slick to the touch. Without a doubt, Muse, some of the finest work you've seen. Aside, close to your own, of course.
I'm still pretty enthusiastic, and I do look to Drogan and hey, friend, if we ever do meet up with Lorelei down the road, I can guarantee you she'd be wanting to talk to you about this stuff.
I would enjoy that very much.
I owe you a solid, friend.
Oh, no, not at all. Doug Marin led me here, and I believe that there's something for me on this path. I'm excited to find out what it is. And I close up the book and wrap it in some leather and put it back in the bottom of my backpack, and then heft it back on and go. Very tired now, find a place at the base of a tree and just kind of slump down, exhausted.
As Drogan heads off to do that, I do take out a scraping tool and begin to very slowly carve runes into the filigree of the gun to enchant it. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of lost in this, thinking of the first time I watched my master Lorelei teach me this stuff, and just realized that I'm finally taking a step forward and not just working off the last word anymore.
Excellent. Some closure and a passage in the evolution of all as the evening grows late. Drogan, as you just slowly spent from the work, the channeling of your god's will, and the masterful forging, bringing your own craft to an entirely new level. Eventually, sleep takes you soundly and peacefully. Glitterbomb, Cloud.
You sleep. I watch.
Okay, but you wake me when you're tired.
Yes.
Okay. I find a tree and climb up.
Very quickly, the weight of the last day sets in over you. The ache in your bones, a distant memory, as your consciousness slips into rest.
I'll just kind of pace the little clearing very carefully and very slowly and just watch all around, just make sure I'm not missing things.
Sure. Yeah. As you begin to slowly walk a small perimeter around the camp, being careful not to breach this foliage that's providing you cover and shelter, obscuring your presence from the very narrow, overgrown pathway about 15 feet away. Muse, as you kind of very carefully and elegantly carve these beautiful runes in the side of the new tube, figuring out how it might fit together with this new clockwork. Why don't you describe the work as you continue? Your eyes start to grow heavy.
Each rune that I'm carving into the filigree kind of looks like a little bit of a piece of art. Each rune kind of leads into the next. My plan is that these runes basically will charge the magical energy that the gem inside that it will eventually be placed inside the shotgun will launch, like basically it'll charge it up and slingshot it out. and possibly in time allow me to adjust what type of magical force is going to get discharged out of it as well.
Okay. Once you roll
And
oh, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
and eventually, content with what that is, I will. After I find out what you want me to roll, I'll crash out.
Sure. Roll an Arcana check or a Tinker's Tools check if that is something you're proficient in. Your choice.
I'll chance Tinker's Tools.
Sure.
Ooh.
As you're working this
Ace.
over, it's almost like the handoff of the brilliant craftsmanship infused by Doug Marin's guiding of Drogon's hands just blends into your own, as though you've worked together for centuries and it just fits together perfectly. You're flourishing now, almost dialed in so intently to the crafting and the carving of these beautiful runes as they carve silver etches along the copper. You blow it off, brush it with the palm of your hand, just completely zoned into it. It feels like weeks go by, but in barely another hour, you look at this beautifully crafted, gilded copper, almost like a blunderbuss style funnel out with these runes that, you know, when you do work that's so awe-inspiring, you step back and you wonder how you even got there to begin with. And then finally, with some finality to the work, the wear of the days just becomes too much for you to handle and continue on, but you're satisfied that not only is the work well done, but also complete.
I crash out.
Darkness envelops not just the campsite, but the rings, the edges of your consciousness. Sleep takes you all, except for Glitter, who's diligently watching the perimeter of the camp. But it's been a long day for you as well, Glitter, and I'm going to need you to roll a Constitution saving throw for me, please.
We just by default leave Glitter Bomb on watch.
I watch.
It goes so well.
I'm actually going to kind of tap into the magic and use the tides of chaos to help me stay awake here.
That's I admire your creativity. Is there an ability that allows you to do that? Oh, you to give yourself advantage on the
Tides
check?
of chaos. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, go ahead and make it with advantage then. Yeah, absolutely. I thought you were just like, you're like, I'm going to Tides of Chaos to stay awake. I'm like, I don't think that's in the class description, but yeah, no, for advantage on the check, absolutely.
You said that's a Constitution check?
Constitution saving throw.
Constitution saving throw.
Which is, I guess, a check. Yeah. Okay.
Oh.
All right, gotcha. So you fight off sleep, but it's draining on you. You find that the reality around you begins to slide into a dreamlike state, but you kind of jerk yourself away. You stand up, you start taking deep breaths to really force yourself to stay awake. And when it seems like an endless struggle that you're beginning to lose, you look at the moon, and at the very least, it's time to switch watch.
I fluff up my feathers, go over to Cloud, just kind of pat her head. Cloud. Wake time. Wake time.
Oh. Okay.
I sleepy.
Okay. You sleep.
Before long, the watch is changed as Glitterbomb just equally quickly just descends into a quiet sleep. Cloud, relatively refreshed. You have little trouble staying awake once you shake off the clinging, the desperate draw of further sleep. Before long, the chorus of evening critters gives way to a new light of day in this gray, airy mist, and you see the slow, natural fog rising from the forest floor as the warmth of the previous day interacts with the night cooling, falling away, and the rest of your watch passes without event, and a new day dawns. Now the calls of songbirds herald the new morning.
So we just did 2 watches.
Yep. The rest of the evening passed by. So you've all achieved a long rest. And
Yay!
you're effectively level 3 now. So
Yay!
well done. What do you do, Cloud? Feel a little
I feel
stronger, a little
better.
wiser. Smarter.
I actually spend the next little while going over some of my moves, like doing, and practicing with my short sword and just kind of getting some exercise in.
Sure. I'll get everyone else to roll let's roll a perception check for me.
Everybody or just me? Or
Except
just
for
them?
you, except for you. Yeah.
Except for me. Okay.
Everyone else. All right. Muse, you're first to kind of your eyes just slowly awaken, and you look down at your lap, breathe a sigh of relief. The work that you had done was so just mired in perfection that you worried for a moment that it may have been a dream, but indeed reality is exactly what you had experienced last night. And as you look over and your eyes kind of clear, you wipe away the tendrils of sleep, you see Cloud just methodically moving through these graceful, even for a feline, movements as she moves from this fluid motion into rapid, lightning quick speed, prancing, almost poising impossibly on the edges of her feet.
I cheer as I watch her go through her movements.
Woo! And a snort from Pio pushed up against the tree, taking various positions overnight. She, what's all the noise about? Oh. Did I fall asleep? She kind of flexes her back after the bark has been offering her cushioning through the night.
We all needed the downtime. No worries, friend.
And after a few minutes, Glitterbomb and Drogon are equally roused.
I quickly gather things up. Let's get on the road.
Yeah, Pio pushes herself off the tree like, yeah. I know my former kin, they're not gonna forget about this too soon. Especially when they find out that we as a team, took all their things.
Yes, teamwork.
I'll go keep an eye on the road, and she just kind of sinks low and begins to slowly prowl forward through the obscurity of the low ferns towards the path.
Stay safe.
You got it, boss.
Okay, I gather up any stuff that I had and maybe take out another piece of yummy hardtack and chew on it while we gather our stuff up to get moving. This is good.
I'll probably be scavenging a little bit, grabbing some leftover bits of things that I've more non-perishable things that have been stashed in my pockets. Cookies, crackers. They're crumbly, but mostly edible.
Nice.
Probably also gathering up like little bugs and berries.
Okay. Roll a survival check for me. Muse?
I will be adding the focusing crystal to the inside of the new shotgun.
Okay.
And putting a little bit of arcane energy through it just to see what happens.
Okay. Drogon?
I am studying that book that I pulled out last night, reading through a few of the incantations and prayers in it,
Gotcha.
while I munch on some jerky and hardtack, and then after a moment or two, I snap it closed and quickly gather up all my things.
Okay, Angela, you managed to find some bugs, nothing so tantalizing as worms or anything like that. You kind of bite down on one of them. The shell's pretty hard, and it doesn't seem to really interest you. You throw it aside and immediately take stock of what's left of the various crumbles and I guess the pieces of things that you've collected that you might consider edible, questionable for most. You figure you've got about another day's worth in there, but you aren't really able to find anything around here to bolster those stores of your rations. Drogon, as you continue to kind of thumb through your tomes, reciting and recanting the work that you did last night, wondering if you could ever recreate that finery, or if it was really just the first attempt, and what's on the horizon for your craftsmanship might be even more incredible. Muse, in the meantime, as you're fitting this lens in this crystal, that's something you've been carried around, worthless to most, but in your case, you know the true power and how it's able to it's cut to focus those arcane energies. You press it down and seal it somewhere towards the back where the chamber meets the blunderbuss side of the this large tube. And as you're all kind of collecting yourselves of the morning, ready to take the road, you hear a and a brilliant flash of light come from Muse's direction. Muse, as you push in against the blast, it fires off into the air, and you hear a as some birds like kind of spread and scatter somewhere high above you in the foliage of the Cormanthor. Incredible, yes, but definitely somebody may have taken note.
Oh, hells.
I am super fluffy right now.
Glitterbomb pops up.
Defensive mode.
I am crouching really low and going, what? Why?
My defense, I didn't quite expect it to work that efficiently.
We go now. We go now.
We should go.
We best be going, yeah.
Resigned, you take back to the road, and before long, you're about another half hour down. The daylight and the leaves and branches ablaze in the Cormanthor as the morning sun begins to beat down through the trees. Fortunately, the wood is giving you some great shade, and there's an elegance and beauty of it as the heat of day dispels completely this lingering ground floor moisture and fog that seems to have gathered in the morning. And after about another hour goes by in Cloud, you begin to pick up the tracks again as the road descends into something that's a little bit lower than the forest floor line, bringing back that muck and the wetness that does a great job of holding the tracks of things like horse prints. And I'll get you to roll another survival check with advantage for me, please, or nature, your choice.
Okay.
Now, you've never been this far north in the Cormanthor, but you know the forest well, and as you continue to pick up that trail and work it along, the rest of you just see Cloud go from considering these tracks, stopping with the one paw to her chin, and then with laser-like focus, she just begins to take off with intent. You've seen her do this before, and in similar kind, you fall in behind Cloud as you're following it through, and the road actually sort of opens up a little bit now. There seems to be another path that carves upwards towards the west and north, but your path and trajectory takes you further along the trail, following this muck and mire, and you stop for a moment. Hunger takes the group. You share of your rations once again. Pio just kind of blissfully lingering shortly behind, enthralled with this newfound path of hers. But before long, as you're walking forward, Cloud, I'm going to get you to roll a perception check for me with advantage for Drogon, or vice versa. Drogon or Cloud, either of you roll a perception check with advantage.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
As the thick forest embraces everything you can possibly see now in the surrounding, well beyond the rickety goblin camp, barely a memory in the past. Unfortunately, there's no further evidence or sign immediately of any of the goblins or anything otherwise that may have been traveling with them or working with them, or anything that would herald Devon's presence other than this charging, lingering curiosity around the track marks. It's still well traveled here, and it actually opens up a little bit more, and you can almost see the sense of like road road stones that are kind of gathered as larger craft may have traveled here at one point in time, but nothing that seems recent. The narrow dirt road now, it's been beaten down by centuries of travelers of another kind or storied journeys, and it leads away from the camp further into the darkening wood ahead. As you kind of listen to the air, you see Cloud cock her head, and you hear rustling, impossibly far away. Normally you wouldn't pick it up, but the forest has grown so quiet here, even the woodland animals have gone silent, and you hear a rustling just off the road and to the right.
I want to kind of stealthily move in that direction to see if I can peer through the underbrush, keeping really low.
Okay. You see Cloud suddenly hug to the forest line to the right of the road, sink low, and almost become one with the foliage on the side of the road. Go ahead and roll a stealth check for me. And suddenly, Cloud, you can pick up exactly where it's coming
Oh my
from.
god, of course.
And you turn, but you're totally distracted, and you stand up now with this the branches crashing together. But you take a bead on this bush that's about 5 feet in, and it just seems to be shaking against the road.
I take out my short sword and actually, who's there? We see you.
Psst. A voice comes from the woods. Are you frienderful? Pio just stops, and she's kind of looking out of the side of her eye at Glitterbomb, looking ahead, trying to get
Oh,
an eye.
no. I don't know because I don't know you.
You don't know. You gotta know if you friend or foe. Come on, just answer the question. Slurred Common greets you from the bush.
Are you gonna try to hurt me?
I probably. If it depends on your answer.
Friend? Call friend?
Friend. Well then, come here quick, behind the bush. Just quiet. There's something that you gotta see. Come on. How many friends? And you see a small gauntleted hand rise up from the bush ahead. Come on. How many friends?
I'll clack my beak 5 times.
And I'm just standing there going,
What the gods is that? And you see like a small, like rusted helm kind of emerge as this figure stands up full height, long matted black hair and a crooked kind of bowl helm that's just, it's got like sticks and twigs sticking off it and dirt smeared of it. He kind of looks at you and sways and stops, catches himself and looks around. Oh, hey. How many friends? I count 6. I count 6 to you. Is there any more? Is it just the 6?
I back away. Where
are you going?
We're drinking. You're drunk.
Nope, you're drunk. Where did you come from? And where are you going?
Where did you come from?
Here. Shh. And he sinks down in the bush. Here.
Why?
What?
What?
Watching. Shh. Quiet. Down. Everybody, get down. Come here.
I'll duck into the shrubberies.
All right, as Cloud kind of breaks away, what are the rest of you doing? Glitterbomb moves over to the shrubbery and hunkers
She
down.
goes, glitter. I say, Glitterbomb. No.
I'm
she in charge?
hiding.
She's the only one with a brain. Are you in charge? He looks at you, Glitterbomb. Tell the rest of them to come on and tell them to be quiet.
Even know what to do with this.
I raise an eyebrow to Drogon and Cloud, and I pull back the hammer on the last word. I ain't sure what this one's about, friend.
You said friend. You said friend. And he points to you, Cloud, and he points back to Muse. He says, you said friend. You said friend. I asked you. You said friend.
Please
Lied-
doing that.
lied to me.
I want to actually sort of go into the bush where he is and see if I can see what it is that he's looking at, or
He just claps and says, "Gods, get down. Just quiet."
I'll kind of squawk over to
You want-
Muse and Drogon.
You want them to know they're here? Come here, look. I gotta show you something. You gotta see this. But be quiet. You might as well just yell out, tell them right where they are. He just kind of
Ooh.
turns around and he gets low on his belly and he starts crawling like westward on the ground. And even when he's out of the bush and there's no bush around, he's still just crawling and clanking across the wood. And you see this, he all in all, he's a slim wobbling human male, and he seems to be like crawling along. He's just kind of clawing at the nettles on the ground. He's clearly not as stealthy as he thinks he's being. He pushes himself in an unsteady way around the ground, and you see he's loosely clad in this metal plate armor that's hanging off of him practically. It's riddled with holes and scratches and dents, and the leather straps that are supposed to hold it fast are swinging from the sides, like not even done up, and just getting caught and dragging loose debris and leaves along the forest ground. And every time he kind of moves or the plates sway, they're scraping and they're making an ungodly noise. Every time they do, he turns around and he looks at you. He's like, "Quiet, gods!"
you are not quiet.
He looks at you as though he's seeing you for the first time, and he kind of leans over on his side. He's still on the ground. He looks up at you and he says, "Are you a cat?" And he pulls from his pouch like some busted, kind of crooked wooden glasses, and he puts them on his eyes. He says, "Just a talking cat."
I will squawk and say, "Rude."
Quiet. What's the? Hey, you friend. And he points to Muse. He's like, "What's cat for quiet?"
I believe the word you're looking for is quiet, friend.
Yes, thank you. Quiet, please. And he, excuse me. Now, I gotta show you this. Come on. And he kind of goes back to his kind of crawling along the forest floor.
I walk along behind him.
Okay. Cloudus, you're walking slowly because he's clearly crawling slowly, and he's just every now and then he turns around. So now Glitter and Cloud are walking, kind of flanked by this character who's scrawling along the ground, and he finally pushes through, and you start to catch a gust of wind that whips through the trees, and now you can see them starting to give way to a cliffside that overlooks an open valley, and he just kind of turns around as he gets there. He's like, "Really, please, for all of the gods' graces, get down."
I'll duck down.
Actually see that there's something ahead, and obviously I will get down.
He looks and he's like, "There were 6 of you a minute ago. Where did the other ones go?"
Keep watch.
I'm standing back on the trail, like, what is?
Others keep watch.
Hello.
I'm sorry.
I'm gonna
I'm
make
a
a perception
cat.
check for ambush.
Okay.
I think that there's some kind of ambush coming for us. So
Go ahead
just
and
in
roll
case.
a perception check as you take a moment, a little bit more skeptical than the other two, and you really start to focus down and peer through and around the trees and the brambles. And the only noise you can hear or motion or anything is this sot who's continuing to, you can hear his voice carrying through the woods, just hushing and hissing at the other two to be quiet, making more noise than anyone himself.
Well, convinced that he's probably alone, I will shrug in resignation and, shaking my head, just follow through the brush, trying to see where everybody's going. we've got someplace to be.
Resign, you push your way off the road. Muse?
I will. I'm sure at some point in my history, I've probably pulled the same trick to lead somebody into an ambush. So I'd like to kind of evaluate to see if there's anything around that may lead me off, and then sign resignation and follow.
Okay. Roll a perception check for me as well. Similarly, as you're scanning the brush, kind of the last one, if you slowly back away from the road, satisfied that there's nothing coming either from the direction that you arrived from or the direction in which you were heading, you slowly make your way quietly as best you can through the nettles, past the bush, and beyond towards your companions. But if there's any consolation, you can tell that the road itself is a little bit further away now. You've gone deeper into the woods, so at least there seems to be no danger from there that you can currently tell. As you and Drogon kind of turn your attention, you arrive to regroup with the gang, Pio following closely behind as always. You notice, Drogon particularly, as you're looking over this fool's armor, that it's clearly cosmetic. It's made from extremely thin plates, varying sizes that are mismatched and sort of slapped together. Looks as though chunks of it were found in a pawn sale, you might say, or some sort of secondhand wares sell-off. And you get the sense that this guy's clearly not all there either. But he kind of hunkers you down. He says, "Listen, I know what I'm doing, all right? You got to trust me. We're friends, and friends trust each other." He points at Cloud. Right? I've known you the longest. And he kind of holds his hand out. He says, "Name's Bartimer, by the way. Bartimer Bandifol. Sorry, I am adventurer extraordinaire."
I, in a terrified way, jump back from his hand.
He says, "All right, okay, that in your own time then." He says, but I've been here for weeks now on a stakeout, and I know fate has called me here to vanquish evil wherever it festers in the realm. And if I know evil, it's goblins." He looks at Pio. "Present company except, of course. But the other ones, you're cool. That's fine. The other goblins are bad. And I found
You've seen goblins come through here.
Through here? No. Down there." And he points to the overlook. And as you look beyond the cliff as it cascades and dives down into this open valley, you see a sprawling open valley that's pocked with large stones, underbrush, where the trees have refused to encroach. And as he crawls through and continues to urge you to stay quiet, he gesticulates at the focus of his purported stakeout. "I've been watching them and planning my attack. You see there, that's the main gate. They got a big and ogre to open it. And as you look over, you see this encircled fort that's built in the center of the valley. Huge, large, bound tree trunk walls that encircle the entire thing. You can see that it's made up of divisions, but at its front, this main gate is clearly a large, hefty, manufactured log gate as well. Now, each of those towers I've been watching, they've got at least one or two goblins, and then there's the patrols inside and outside. But I think we can take them. I can count them. I know how many are in there. Looks tricky to enter, and he kind of goes on his own strategy as you're just looking over his shoulder. Wait a quick second here. As you behold the same vista.
Pictures.
From there, the partitions seem to house nearly a half dozen or more buildings, and as you look, you can barely see dots moving in there. Your best bet, it looks like it's experiencing some pretty heavy activity, though you can't quite get a bead. And he looks back and says, I think there's probably 100 goblins, but we can do it. And this is our legacy, my friends. This is the moment that the bards of history will sing about for centuries to come. You, me, you, us, doing it. What do you think? He kind of turns around. As you look forward, suddenly you see some movement on the valley from the west side that seems to come from outside of your purview in this overlook, as a dust trail begins to vault high into the sky, and something moving along the trail towards the fort, galloping quickly. A pair of side-by-side riders, and a horse carrying a hobgoblin, and as best you can tell, a humanoid male gallops through. You all hold your breath as you perceive the scene playing out before you. Bartimer continues to go on. I've seen a couple of goblins sneaking around to the west side, but you quickly zone him out as the two horses gallop quickly. You can barely hear the braying of the horses as they're pulled to an abrupt halt as they gallop up to the main entrance. The gate doesn't open immediately, but the goblins in the tower seem to be yelling something, chittering too far for you to audibly make out, but they're communicating something down to the group below. After a few short moments, you hear and then a slam as the great lumber gates creak inward. An ogre, you can see now, who's lumbered out of a small building beyond the view of the gates, walks up, considers the rider for a moment with his head tilted, and the riders just then slowly trot into the fort. As they come out from what's blocking your view of these 20-30 foot walls, they make their way to the center of the fort. And when they do, from a building further to the back of the fort, you see a woman dressed in what appears to be red and white flowing blouses and flowing blonde hair that almost seems to catch the wind, briskly walks up to the dismounting rider as this great gray and red-skinned hobgoblin pulls a horned helm from his head. They seem to be going back and forth with some aggression. Clearly she's displeased with something. She points at the hobgoblin and then at the man still slumped over the back of the horse, puts her hands on her hips, stomps on the ground, points again at the hobgoblin, and screams. A booming voice echoes and concussively spreads out across the valley as the woman then charges to the hobgoblin as he kneels to his head, knees him in the head in a flying vault as he's still reeling, flips and kicks with an axe kick that lands squarely on the shoulder of the goblin until he crumples in a hot mess and ceases to move. She stands up, brushes her skirts, turns her attention to the other rider, points at him. The goblin just kind of pulls his horse back. She walks over to the man who's slumped over the horse, pulls him roughly to the ground, barks some kind of order to the goblin as the goblin slowly dismounts, never breaking his eye from her. She mounts the remaining horse, pulls hard on the reins, and begins to open up into a hard gallop through the gates and backwards beyond the valley and out of your sight. As she's riding away, you just see the glinting sunlight against a red mask that obscures the right side of her face. And she is gone. So, that's the plan. Bartimer just kind of looks back and forth here on his back as he's kind of perched up on his elbows. So that's the plan.
That was her. That was him. Did you?
So, his what?
How do we get him?
Get him. Get what?
We have to.
We rescue.
Yes.
Person.
Yes,
Rescue.
rescue. That's the stuff the legends are made of. That's a good idea. The bird's good.
You
Bird's good.
you rest first.
Yeah, of course. You can't adventure on a tired stomach.
Bush, rest.
Yeah, okay, but it's daytime, right? Not really
Yes.
tired though. He seems to be a little bit confused about that, and he starts to think quietly.
Drogon, Muse, we have to go.
I'm gonna start looking at the cliffside to see if I can figure out where a way down is.
As you edge closer to the cliffside, this is a sheer drop, fairly challenging. As best you can tell, though, the grade starts to ease off westward, and this cliffside seems to encircle the entire valley. There must be some way down there, though, because the two hobgoblin riders that you saw carrying presumably your quarry had to come from somewhere.
I focus my attention back on this Vardifer.
Yeah.
And try and remember if
Vardimer,
any
yep.
of his Vardimer, if any of the plans that he was rattling off when I wasn't paying very close attention, I'm trying to remember if any of them sounded even remotely plausible.
Right. Yeah. So, like I was saying, there is, what do you see? There's the ogre. Got to watch out for the ogre. Ogre runs the front gate, so probably, well, we could try it. But there's also the towers, and he kind of points. He's like I said, at least 2 goblins in every tower. You see there is one. And then I have seen on that west side right there, you see right there, and he kind of points and draws your attention to the west side of the fort. He says, I see them coming and going over there, but I can't see if there's a gate or something. But they like to hang out there, and they're outside. And then inside. And then outside.
Oh, I like that better than ogres.
Yeah, see, your boy Bartimer's gonna... I have the brain. And he just stops.
Of a chipmunk.
Come on. He's the funny
I'm gonna...
one of the group. Every hero.
I don't know. I think chipmunks are smart.
I'm gonna turn my back on the stranger and kind of look at Muse and kind of show him the rope that I still have.
I'm going to kind of just make a small gesture with my hand to animate the rope back to life again, and command the rope to do the animated rope to do what it does best.
As it begins to kind of snake and illuminate, Bartimer doesn't pick up on this yet, and he's talking. He's like, so, we can do it, but we have to figure out who's in charge of what. I'll be in charge of strategy. That's the word I was looking for. Strategy. And you be in charge of... And as he's talking, you just see the rope start to quietly coil around him, keeping about 3 inches of space before it actually touches him as it winds around him from the ground up. And he's like, and then I think we should get a drink. And with that, the rope coils tight. Oh, well, that's okay. That's whose rope is this?
Friend rope, my friend.
Cool. Okay, so can your friend rope, can it not do what it's doing now, though?
Friend rope likes you.
Okay, all right. This will make our attack difficult.
You take
Bartimer,
You
in charge
would
of
die.
That was a lot. That was a lot coming at me.
Sorry.
He's got his hands. That was a lot coming at me. I didn't catch it all, but sounds like friends and something about dying. Ooh, I don't really know if I feel good about one of those options. Your old boy Bartimer didn't come out here to the woods and watch the Goblin Fort for a week, so that I could die to a friend rope, if you know what I'm saying.
You take nap. Friend rope, come with me.
But I'm really not tired though, so. So what do you doing? What does that mean? Is the rope actually intended?
What does that mean? Are you gonna lower him down the cliff?
It's like he's just kind of
What are we doing
squirming.
with
I'm gonna look to Glitterbomb for whatever she thinks.
And Bartimer just kind of slowly like crouches until he's sitting. He's like, I think I will sit down for a bit though.
Think you're all broth and no beans, friend.
New friends stay here. Keep watch.
I can keep watch. Cloud, as you're kind of keeping one eye to this and one eye to the fortress in the valley. As best you can tell when you're kind of watching the activity down there, you can see there are about a dozen watchtowers that dot the circumference of this high-walled lumber battlements. And at your best count, there are about 24, honestly, or so goblins, a mix of goblins and hobgoblins. From what you can see, it's difficult to pick them out as they come and go through various divisions in the fort and gates. They seem to be milling about in different areas, and every now and then the large lumbering ogre kind of ducks his head out of the shack and steps forward, kind of milling about something beyond the fence, beyond your view, and then back to the shack where he closes a small tin door behind him. Other than that, that's all the activity that you can make out at the moment. As the rest of you are turning your attention to, from, and away, Bartimer, what are you doing?
We have to find a way down.
And
Maybe further up the path.
I'll point towards the west. Cliff, not so bad that way.
Yeah.
Bartimer begins to slowly whistle off tune in the background, seemingly lost interest and focus on any of this.
We could see if our new friend could get us in the west side. And I look over at P.O., not Bartimer.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, probably. Now I've never been to the fort, but I've heard about it. And like our other new friend said, goblins are pretty bad and usually stupid. Present company accepted, of course.
Of course.
I don't know much about it beyond that, but I know that originally there was a troop or a contingent of about, 20, 30 goblins. That's after those of us were sent further onto Bridge Tree. The rest did go down there, and I think your friend's right. They broke off down the other way. We came through a main road. If I remember, it came into this road, and that way is the only other way out. And she points westward the same way that Glitterbomb did. I mean, I guess they might not suspect me. I'm not stationed there, but I guess as far as they can tell, I belong.
Our chances are not looking good here.
We might have to be sneaky.
Be pretty sure we ain't gonna get our way with the same trick as before.
No.
Even a
Not
lot of
with the
dumb
lady
goblins.
there.
Still a lot of goblins coming from me.
This is the first time I have seen an ogre, and I don't want to fight him.
I'm gonna look at Bartimer. In particular, my rope wrapped around Bartimer, and I'm gonna look over at the fort. Like, how tall? Point at the towers. Rope tall? Too tall?
He kind of raises an eyebrow and says, he leans over to Drogon and he's like, is she speaking bird again?
She wants to know how tall the walls are.
Oh, how tall the wall is. Yeah, I think he kind of squirms around, and he does this thing where he lies back on his back, and he's like putting his feet up in the air, and he's kind of going 1, 2. From here, I'd say it's about 2 feet. He lays his feet back down on the ground, and then he just kind of starts looking up into the trees. He's like, "Nice day, though."
How when we saw the ogre moving through, how tall was it? How tall were the walls compared to the ogre?
Yeah, good reference. The ogre had to sort of hunker down to open the gate, and you could gauge him at about I would say about 12 feet tall, and the top of the gate was about another maybe 10-ish feet beyond that. So at your best estimate, you could say the walls are probably somewhere between 20 and 25 feet high.
Very tall.
And you do know that they're also shaved down meticulously to points at the top, which make them a little bit more impassable still. I'm going to get everyone to roll a perception check for me, please.
Oh no.
That's never good.
As a flight of 100 arrows comes crashing through... No.
What?
You're a monk. You can catch them all. I'll give you 100 reactions. Okay. Muse, as this is going on and you're already still kind of dialed into your surroundings, not really fully convinced that this isn't some kind of carefully orchestrated ambush, and you hear crunching along the road somewhere back from where you came. You turn your head just slightly over, listen closely to the sounds, trying to find the silence between the banter that's happening in front of you and this new activity you hear on the road, and you hear the crunching of wood on stone, and then suddenly the whinnying of a horse and the clap of leather somewhere far along. Muse is the only one who's kind of tuned into this first. Seems to just be carrying on from at least 100 feet away at best you can tell, and the rickety rolling of wooden wheels on hard stone gravel.
I raise a hand to the group to just kind of get them to stop talking. Believe there's some movement over there, friends.
Coming from where?
I just very carefully kind of make a gesture to the others to not draw any more attention to us.
Okay. Pio kind of looks at you, looks at Cloud, and slowly crouches low, her hand just on the haft of the great battle axe jutting out from over her right shoulder. And she looks at you and kind of nods, waiting for your cue.
Pio, do you know anything about who may be moving this way?
These roads don't see travel very often, not except for us coming to and from, and she nods over her shoulder towards the fort. I haven't seen anyone since you all came along.
Hells. Everyone be ready.
Friend rope, come back.
Are you pulling the rope? Sorry, go ahead. Go, Muse.
I look to Glitterbomb. Come again?
Friend rope. Need
Long-
friend rope.
I follow Glitterbomb's request, and I just again make a quick gesture to the rope, and it follows along her. It'll uncoil and return to her.
As it uncoils around Bartimer, you just hear a fancy thing, and he goes back to. Oh, right. Shh. Quiet.
I'm gonna put the rope away and kind of try to hide.
Bartimer immediately snaps back into his previous pose, and he flops back over on his stomach, and he's like, he just nods at you, and he starts to slowly climb along the ground.
No, stop!
I'm gonna put a hand on, or put my hammer on him, Thor style.
It clinks against the thin metal on his back. And it's like,
and say, "Stay still."
I whisper softly, friend. You've been here for quite some time, right?
Yeah, a week. Yeah.
Who's been coming and going?
Me and 6 of you.
So this is the first time there's been some movement here?
Except for all the freaking goblins.
Has anything coming or going from there?
Just that blonde missus and this fancy guy they've been dragging around, I suppose.
Fancy guy. Do you know if he's still in, or do you know how long he's been here?
I think it's that one they just brought him back. They took him out, they brought him back.
Huh.
Go see what that wagon noise was. I want to know more. I want to know if there's something else heading that way.
And the rest of you can hear it now, and it's got that cant and that auditory crunchiness of wood on hard road, as you now hear the snorting and heavy breathing of horses or some beast of burden, presumably pulling something along the road, and the odd whoa, you hear a voice kind of calling out commands to whatever is making its way down the road.
I want to try making closer to the road to get a better look.
Okay.
Since we had a long rest, I think I'm going to try using the Tides of Chaos to make this go in my favor.
Okay. As Glitterbomb begins to slowly make her way towards the edge of the forest where it joins the road, and deftly so seems to find shadow that's being cast by these blistering rays of sun that are broken by the trees. Her black feathers, or her feathers almost seem to darken, her multicolored feathers almost seem to darken in the shadows as she moves deftly, impressively so based on what you've seen. And Glitter, you can easily start to quietly make your way out to the edge. What are the rest of you doing?
I'm keeping Bartimer quiet.
Right, he's like frozen stiff. He hasn't moved as though it's a game that he thinks he's winning. Right.
Of course it does.
Okay.
I'm watching Glitterbomb, very concerned that she's going by herself, but very impressed at how quiet she is.
I will. Oh. I'll move up slowly. I'll kind of keep a healthy distance behind Glitterbomb, but I'll keep a hand on the last word. And if anything goes down, the first thing that goes near her is going to be feeling bullets.
Okay. The familiar cold steel in your hand, but I'll get you to roll a stealth check as well as you crouch. You give her some good lead time so as not to interrupt the process she's on. But you also very deftly move with almost deathly and stealthily through the brambles, like slowly walking on the edges of your heels to avoid making any noises, checking your steps for little branches that might belie your position. And as you follow the sound that's piqued you in these wooden wheels that are creaking against hardwood, and the odd braying of horses with the snap of a leather whip sound, and you stop as a small flock of birds shudder in the woods and then fly away. Turn your attention back to your path ahead as 75 feet closes to 50 feet, 40 feet, and you begin to see a respectably sized, large, covered wagon that's rocking back and forth, pulled by two horses as they groan against the unkempt road ahead. Its tarp is billowing and flapping as wind courses through this canopy-covered wagon. And then you pause as you notice the brilliant clashing colors that it's painted and strewn with. And the clapping sound you heard is from a hanging wooden sign that slaps against the side of the wooden trailer. And it continues to kind of bump and rock over the stony ground. The driver cracks the reins once again in thick dwarven hands as his full, unencumbered white beard is just dancing wildly, as mustachios flying in the breeze freely around his small, cracked, and tanned face. You watch for a moment as it continues on the road, and as best as you can tell, it has one destination, the road forward, downwards, and towards the Goblin Fort in the ravine below. And that's where we'll end our session for tonight.
Oh,
Oh my.
With Muse and Glitterbomb at the forest's edge, and the first sign of movement or life otherwise beyond themselves, and of course Bartimer Bandiful, the wonderful hero / actor apparently, we'll wrap our session for tonight. So be sure to come back and join us in 2 Wednesdays' time to find out what happens next.
Woo.
Boo.
Leave it to you to throw a Newfie hero at us.
Hero, I know. I was kind of going for Irish somewhat, but I mean,
At first, that's what it was.
they're fairly
morphed.
close. Anyway. Yeah, I think it's something about the hardtack that you offered me. It's the hardtack that threw me off. So, what do you guys think? What are you guys thinking as in character?
I think we're screwed. No, I think
Yeah.
I think we need to find some other way, something.
Mm.
I'm starting to think maybe we need to stop this wagon and get on it.
Well, if it's bringing supplies, for sure. But yeah, oh my gosh, Cloud is just going. Everything is just so new, and this is definitely very threatening. This is even worse than the last place.
Who or what was driving the wagon?
Getting
Did you see?
tense.
White bearded dwarf.
Oh, good.
Muse.
I hate dwarfs. Oh, wait.
Thoughts?
No.
I hate dwarves. It's like P.O.'s learning. to
Really?
hate goblins. Muse, what are you thinking?
Muse is thinking 2 points of ingress. 1, Bandit 101, Trojan horse. Hold up the wagon, and if the guy's good or he's just looking to make a buck, turn him away, and use the wagon to get in. Other option is have P.O. basically say, "Hey, look, I captured these people," and bring them in.
Interesting. So you now at least have a bead on your intended target and purpose. Now it seems like the challenge is going to be finding a way to do it effectively. We'll continue these thoughts around the table. I want to hear what everyone else is thinking. But first, let's take a quick pause to do some quick shout outs. Thank you everyone who's watching, who's stuck around for the show tonight. Greatly appreciate you hanging out with us to watch our little epic tale as it unfolds. I know we certainly do have a lot of fun with it. If I had my choice, I would play all night. And I think, yes, I will own maybe I found that beat a little early, but I think it's better than us getting into something that could potentially roll into an awkward place to stop. So when that happens, I'll look for an opportunity to hold up and give us something exciting to look forward to next session in 2 Wednesdays time. So Rightbit's been active in chat. Thank you very much, Rightbit, for hanging out with us. If you haven't done so yet, toss me a follow. If you haven't already done so, apologies if I missed that, but I'll take a look at some of the events. We have Interstellar Frost from the Mixer crew. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. Thank you very much for the follow. Welcome to the Checkmates. This is, of course, DMsGuild Feature Showcase, where we play with some amazing members of our Twitter D&D community against incredible third-party Dungeon Masters Guild created content. In this case, the campaign we're playing through is called Scourge of the Nightingale, Part 1, A Song of Love, and it's penned by Jeff Corvin Stevens and JVC Perry. It's a great little module, so feel free to check it out. I'll give you that information here in chat. And some quick context. The party is tasked with finding the fate of a kidnapped groom-to-be, and this is session 4 in the path to that, so they've had some really great adventures and misadventures on the way. Be sure to check it out when you have a moment. Getting back to the round table, Cloud, Chickenly Nerd is Cloud. What's Cloud thinking at the moment in all of this? Did we already hit you, I think?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but I didn't. Honestly,
It's past my old man bedtime.
I honestly
forget
think
things.
that she's thinking that she is ill prepared for this and wishing she had more to offer to help get them in.
Interesting.
For sure.
Gotcha. Cats are pretty good at climbing though too. I don't know. Maybe that's the thing. Or I could just be
Yeah,
baiting
they
you
can
into
just-
something terrible too.
Yeah, well, that sounds like definitely Brad. You know?
Scumbag DM. Glitter Bomb. Glitter Bomb. I love the way that Glitter Bomb plays. These like getting through using the limited Kenku vocabulary as a great roleplay option. But aside from that, what's Glitter Bomb thinking in all this?
Well, at this point, she knows that they've got a drunk who wants to think he's the hero. They need him to stay behind. There's a wagon, and there's only really one place the wagon could be going. And if they're going to be sneaky, they need to get on that wagon somehow to get in those doors. Otherwise, they have to find some sort of cover to get to a wall and try to climb up over the wall with friend rope.
With friend rope. Nice. Drogon, what does Drogon make of all this so far?
I think getting in is going to be easier than getting out.
Good point.
Interesting assumption.
Drogon's been in enough trouble that he knows that getting out's the hard part.
I see. Muse and Drogon had some a pretty cool exchange today that we talked about when we were storifying how to elevate through level 3. Muse, tell us a little bit about what was going on there in the camp.
Well, one of Muse's new abilities is Eldritch Shotgun, which basically is a weapon he can charge force, fire, or protective damage through it. And considering it's gives a lot more of a fun roleplay option to actually have him create this connection to the gun, and especially since the last word is created by his master, and he admittedly still feels like a bit of a poser, so actually creating a piece for himself kind of helps him put a little bit more of the old bandit history aside, and he feels more like a hero now that he's done something for himself. Plus, Drogon, he admires the hell out of his skill for music. Can create these little trinkets, but admittedly something that he has to supercharge. He didn't quite trust his own abilities to not blow up in his face or blow his hand off.
And what was Drogon's part in that, and how did you feel about it?
I've been wandering for so long and feeling like there's something out there that he needs to be doing. And so having the chance to come across somebody like Muse has been really interesting, and maybe kind of a sign, perhaps even. And so being able to access this new ability and new power is exciting and fun, and something that is going to be really interesting to look into in the future.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's fun when we get to the intersection of backstories that are happening in a module. And that's something that I really enjoy. I think there's a misconception that, if you're playing a module, or if you're playing something, whether it's officially published by Wizards or it's something from a wonderful third party creator community, that you don't have the flexibility to do that. And I think what we're learning together is that that's very much not the case. I mean, you can easily tailor a lot of this stuff. I guarantee if you check out that module and read through it, you will not see the same playthrough that we're going through today. You'll spoil a lot of what's coming for yourself. So I encourage you to wait.
No worries.
But I mean, there's so much that makes this great that you can't write, right? That I think you have all explored together, which is really exciting. Certainly for me as a DM, that's where the joy is for me, because I get to kind of watch this unfold. And it's those things that I can't plan for or perceive that really make it kind of exciting on my side of things, right? Those are the great unknowns. Rightbit was asking for more on Doug Marin. We got a lot of really great stuff there too. And there's the backstories that everyone here has submitted and crafted for the characters are extremely rich. So we're going to see a lot of that continue to feature as we continue to play. Muse and Drogon, just around. This is Dustin saying in chat. Muse and Drogon have created Ashen Boomstick. Indeed, my boomstick. Interstellar Frost. I just want to read this intro because it was really cool. Appears from a crashing comet. Hello, the name is Frost. Interstellar Frost. How are you today? We're well, thanks, Interstellar Frost. Thanks for joining us. What version? This was 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons that we're playing here. And again, thank you for the follow. It was fantastic. Again, big shout for Dr. Feargood for the 2nd month in a row. 2 months strong on the subs. Welcome to the crew. Glad to have you on board, of course. We try to be as active as we can in chat. I don't know what was happening. For some reason, if you're watching on YouTube, I apologize. It keeps like spamming the last thing that I typed in chat. I don't know why it's doing that, but it's even doing it right now. It spammed that last command like 10 times. So I won't continue to punish people that way. I don't know quite what's going on there. So hopefully I'm not missing anything. Dr. Feargood says, awesome session. Thank you very much, Dr. Feargood. Made far more awesomer by your presence. And for those of you who come to watch, because that's how we get paid, right? That's not, no, I mean, literally how, that's the currency we deal in is just having you here.
Paid?
No, I know. Yeah, no. Friendship dollars all around. Ask Pio. Pio has all the coin. But it is the currency that I deal in is the viewership and the interaction, the engagement, just having you folks here to enjoy these stories with us. That's really the payout for me. I would say I don't want to speak for everyone else, but they're volunteering their wonderful time, as am I. So it really makes it worthwhile when we have you here to enjoy this with us and join us on this journey as we continue to learn together. Of course, we're playing on Roll20. Any other questions, you can feel free to get at me on, DM me, whisper me. But that's not what I want to highlight. What I want to highlight are these incredible players at this wonderful table. So let's do it backwards. Nikki, I'll start with you.
Nikki.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and where these wonderful viewers can find you on the internets if they want to follow up.
Okay, I'm at Chickenly Nerd on Twitter and Instagram. You can find my shop at nerdychicken.ca and .com. You'll get there. But there's amazing artists there making amazingly unique nerdy things, and I really encourage people to go look, because not only that, one of the things that we're trying to do with the shop is make sure that the customers that come are getting original works from the original artists, and also making sure that the artists are being treated and paid fairly. So I can't encourage it enough for people to come to the shop, because the more people that come, the more artists I can protect and take care of.
Very noble approach. And there's so many great things on there too. You can get lost just browsing until you find something that's perfect just for you. And a lot of them are unique, or it's things like that, like one of a kind on there too.
Oh yeah. Yes. Most of it.
Yeah. Nuts. And straight from the community too. So you're not just lining the pockets of multi-billionaire
right.
The hierarchy,
the money goes to us poor little urchins at Nerdy Chicken, which is just me and my buddy Doug. and the rest of it, most of it, goes to the artists.
It's a beautiful, beautiful thing, and a great community around it as well. Let's duck over to Just Drawn Radio. Tell us about yourself and where the people can find you. The people can find you.
The people.
The people.
Sure.
Of course, I am Just Drawn Radio. I do a radio show about comic books, nerdy culture. I sometimes talk about art. Occasionally talk about mental health on the show. I can be found, of course, on Twitter at Just Drawn Radio. You can also head to cjtr.ca. It's the community radio station that I actually run my show off of. 3 sessions a month, you'll hear me and my co-hosts. Once a month, you'll hear my girlfriend actually talk about women in comics. All awesome stuff. We put a lot of heart into it, and as always, it's an honor to be here.
Awesome. And always a pleasure to have you on as well, of course. Let's pop down to Pleasant Doom, a.k.a. Angela at Pleasant Doom on the Twitters. Tell the people where they can find you elsewhere and what you like to do.
Oh, like you said, I am at Pleasant Doom on the Twitterverse, and use that handle in a bunch of other places, but it's easiest to find me on the Twitterverse. Also, I am co-host for a podcast called Dungeons, Dinings, and Dorks, where we talk about geekery and nerdy things and also food, because geeks gotta eat.
That's right. Geek
I'm stealing that. I totally am.
By all means, go ahead. I get 5 cents from SoCan every time you use that. Sorry, that's a deep cut Canadian reference. SoCan is the entity that handles royalties. Anyway, nobody cares about that, Sham. Shut up. Let's pop over to Doug Marin's own boy, the star of the Golden Forge at Dads and Dragons. Ryan, tell us a little bit about yourself and where the people can find ya.
That is the best intro I've gotten ever. I feel like a WWE star.
That's my end game right there.
Yeah. You find me on Twitter at Dads and Dragons or on Instagram at Dads and Dragons. Listen to our podcast. In good news for the month. My oldest son, who's on the
easily
podcast,
regulate the temperature in spaces up to 600.
Named Zophius. He just started working in a real job at our friendly local game store, Dragon's Keep, which is the same store that I bought all of my original role-playing games and modules and manuals and dice and magic cards back in the day. And I'm so excited for him to actually start doing that and earning some money.
Nice.
But so, yeah, that's what it's all about.
That's very cool. That's very cool. And of course, I'm your DM for this session, the host of Shambazzle Games at Shambazzle Games, the host on this channel at Shambazzle Games. See, I need to work on my ish too. You can find me at Shambazzle Games everywhere on the internet. Please do join me on YouTube for all the post-edited content. Do follow us on Twitter, Mixer, YouTube, Twitch. Your choice. Of course, most of our streaming play, we focus on the engagement on the Twitter side. But we'll talk to you no matter what chat you're in. So whether you prefer Twitch, Mixer, YouTube, or Twitter, do follow me there at Shambazzle Games. And until next Wednesday, happy gaming, checkmates. Be good to one another. And we'll see you next time for another stream right here on Shambazzle Games. Good night.
Night, y'all.
Hey, y'all.